I'm criticizing Jolani and his leadership. That he was a part of Timber Sycamore. What is Timber Sycamore? Timber Sycamore, and you can check this on Wikipedia, was a classified weapons supply and training program run by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and supported by the United Kingdom and some Arab intelligence services, including Saudi intelligence. The aim of the program was to remove Syrian President Bashar al-Assad from power. Now, some people, when you criticize Jolani, they think you are being pro-Bashar. That's the only defense you have. You have to resort to a false analogy, to a logical, illogical defense. So, launched in 2012 or 2013, it supplied money, weaponry, and training to Syrian opposition groups fighting Syrian government forces in the Syrian civil war. So this happens in that period. And the CIA director at the time, David Petraeus, first proposed a covert program of arming and training rebels in the summer of 2012. Initially, President Obama rejected the proposal, but later agreed, partially due to lobbying by foreign leaders. So the lobbying was done by foreign leaders, including from King Abdullah of Jordan. And who else? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So Benjamin Netanyahu wanted this operational scope of weapon sales, training of Syrian rebel forces. Now, someone I was talking to today, they said to me, I am a lone voice in criticizing the Jolani government, which is not true. There are others. But what I said to him was, did you not see that the Syrian rebels were given treatment in Tel Aviv as early as 2013 and 14? He was unfamiliar of this. On mainstream news channels, there is video coverage of Syrian rebels being treated in Tel Aviv. So this Timber Sycamore was launched between 2012, when Jabhat al-Nusra was launched, which was led by Jolani, and up to 2017, when HTS was formed, Hay'atu Tahrir al-Sham. Now, why these groups were formed was to attain weapons from the United States of America. Now, according to the New York Times, the program initially allowed US forces to train Syrian rebels in use of military equipment, but not to directly provide the equipment itself. A few months after its creation, it was amended to allow the CIA to both train and equip rebel forces. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey shipped thousands of rifles, hundreds of machine guns, and large amounts of ammunition to Syrian rebels in 2012 before the program's launch. So Turkey did this before the program's launch. Turkey, the same country, the same Erdogan that says he will arm, he will intervene in Gaza. He's a liar. Now, from the Independent, you'll find this online. The minister at the time, Priti Patel, visited a hospital that treats jihadis. This is in Israel's interests, but not the UK's. So this was reported by Kim Sengupta, diplomatic editor of The Independent, on the 9th of November in 2017. What does he write? The former Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon has publicly confirmed that Israel was treating fighters under a deal to help protect the border. Syrian patients, young and old, many with severe injuries, are being operated on by doctors in Israel. They are often provided with medicine to take back across the border. Some returned later for further treatment. This has been going on for a while, and Priti Patel could have seen it taking place at the Ziv Medical Center in Safed, in Golan, or a number of other hospitals like the Western Galilee in Nahariya. She could have gone there with necessary clearance without having to be accompanied by Israeli government officials. Instead, the former DFID secretary chose to go on an Israel Army field hospital on the Golan Heights, where a similar service is provided by military personnel. She was taken to the facility, barred to the general public by Israeli officials. Afterwards, she asked civil servants at her department to examine whether British aid money for Syrian humanitarian operations can be diverted to the Israeli military. So British money, she wanted British money to be diverted to the Israeli military. So the UK does not recognize Israel's annexation of the Golan Heights from Syria. Now soon, Jolani will recognize Israel and the Abraham Accords. And at that point, what will he do with regard to the Golan Heights? So that was Priti Patel, the former minister, visiting those places. So during this Timber Sycamore operation, there is what she states: I have met patients at the Israeli hospitals who make little secret of belonging to hardline jihadi groups. There have been scuffles in some wards between extremist and moderate fighters. Not all of those treated are grateful for the medical care they receive. Some have threatened staff. They say, we will come back and slaughter you all. So she states, but crucially for the Israelis, the jihadi groups, and this is a call out to all the imbeciles who were glorifying this. The jihadi groups are fighting the Lebanese Hezbollah, Israel's mortal enemies, whose militia is in Syria alongside the Iranians and Russians, propping up the Assad regime. So this was the state of affairs of those Syrian fighters. Now, what else is mentioned regarding Timber Sycamore? US-backed rebels often fought alongside Al-Qaeda's Al-Nusra Front against Ba'athist forces. So US-backed rebels and Nusra Front, which is Jolani, and some of the US supplied weapons were seized by Al-Nusra Front. Later, remember, Nusra Front redesignated itself as Hay'atu Tahrir al-Sham. So in July 2017, anonymous officials stated that President Donald Trump, in consultation with National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster and CIA Director Mike Pompeo, had decided to phase out support for anti-Assad rebel forces, possibly redirecting resources to fighting ISIL, to offering rebel forces defensive capabilities, or to other operations in the region. So that was the nature of Timber Sycamore operation. But remember, this has its roots in another strategy. What was that strategy? The strategy was a clean break. A clean break, a new strategy for securing the realm. Now, let me give you some backdrop to... someone asked, have you read Al-Bouti and the Syrian Revolution by Bashar Bakur? The answer is yes. It's a good book. I would recommend the book. Very objective and very resourceful that book is. I would also advise you to read in Arabic the biography of Sheikh al-Bouti by his son Tawfiq al-Bouti, which is available on Dar al-Fikr. It gives you background information as to what actually occurred from the perspective of a Sheikh al-Bouti who was labeled a traitor by some, wrongly, of course. So now let me take you back to a clean break. What is a clean break? A clean break, a new strategy for securing the realm, commonly known as the Clean Break Report, is a policy document that was prepared in 1996 by a study group led by Richard Pearl. A study led by Richard Pearl for Benjamin Netanyahu, the then Prime Minister of Israel. Now he's currently the Prime Minister also. The report explained a new approach to solving Israel's security problems. So that is what a clean break is. You can check what a clean break is online, but here is the clean break report. This is the report. And this report, a clean break, the participants in the study group, which states a new Israeli strategy toward 2000, there were a few people who contributed to this. They have the names at the back. They were from various institutes, Jewish institutes. So let's look through some of the key points which relate to Jolani and company, and this should open up the eyes of those brainwashed Wahhabis who think Jolani is an actual jihadi on the way of Abdullah Azzam. He's not on the way of Abdullah Azzam. Open up your eyes. Point number one, what does the strategy claim? It states work closely with Turkey and Jordan. Work closely with Turkey and Jordan to contain, destabilize, and roll back some of its most dangerous threats. This implies clean break from the slogan comprehensive peace to a traditional concept of strategy based on balance of power. So, what else does it have? Forge a new basis for relations with the United States, stressing self-reliance, meaning Israeli self-reliance, maturity, strategic cooperation on areas of mutual concern, and furthering values inherent to the West. This can only be done if Israel takes serious steps to terminate aid which prevents economic reform. So Israel has taken that initiative. The entity wants to make itself independent of the United States of America. But what I would want to say with regard to that, the Quran mentions the Yahud will never have power by doing that. They will always rely on someone else. A habl, a rope, min Allah, from Allah, a rope meaning help, and habl min an-nas, from people. So they will always rely on another nation. Israel will never become independent. Mark my words. Benjamin Netanyahu, you who shall be disgraced very soon, insha'Allah. So, what else does this a clean break paper state? It states, securing the northern border, Syria challenges Israel on Lebanese soil. This is written in 1996. An effective approach, and one with which American can sympathize, would be if Israel seized the strategic initiative along its northern borders by engaging Hezbollah, Syria and Iran as the principal agents of aggression in Lebanon, including by striking Syria's drug money. Remember, Bashar al-Assad was running a notorious drug outfit, and counterfeiting infrastructure in Lebanon, paralleling Syria's behavior by establishing the precedent that Syria territory is not immune to attacks emanating from Israel by Israeli proxy forces. So, funding proxy forces. Someone states, disgusted they travel in $4 million jets while Gaza starves next door. End of times, of course. So, striking Syrian military targets in Lebanon, and should that prove insufficient, striking at select targets in Syria proper. It's exactly what they did. Israel also can take this opportunity to remind the world of the nature of the Syrian regime. So at that opportunity, remind the people of the Syrian regime. What Syria repeatedly breaks its word. It violated numerous agreements with the Turks and has betrayed the United States by continuing to occupy Lebanon. Syria left later in 2005 after the killing of Hariri, in violation of the Ta'if Agreement in 1989. Instead, Syria staged a sham election, installed a regime and forced Lebanon to sign a brotherhood agreement in 1991. That terminated Lebanese sovereignty, and Syria has begun colonizing Lebanon with hundreds of thousands of Syrians, while killing tens of thousands of its own citizens at a time, as it did in only 3 days in 1983 in Hama. As if Israel is so concerned about Hama and the events of Hama, when the Syrian regime killed thousands of its own citizens. But what the Israeli propaganda was to grossly exaggerate these claims and to put this out there. So, what else it states? Given the nature of the regime in Damascus, it is both natural and moral that Israel abandon the slogan comprehensive peace and move to contain Syria, drawing attention to its weapons of mass destruction program and rejecting land for peace deals on the Golan Heights. And then it states Israel can shape its strategic environment in cooperation with Turkey and Jordan, again Turkey and Jordan, by weakening, containing, and even rolling back Syria. This effort can focus on removing Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq, which happened 2003. An important Israeli strategic objective in its own right. You couldn't make this up. Someone could claim that this was a conspiracy paper. They could claim this was a conspiracy paper. It's not a conspiracy paper, it's a real paper. So, what is stated? As a means of foiling Syria's regional ambitions, Jordan has challenged Syria's regional ambitions recently by suggesting the restoration of the Hashemites in Iraq. This has triggered a Jordanian-Syrian rivalry to which Assad has responded by stepping up efforts to destabilize the Hashemite kingdom, including using infiltrations. Syria recently signaled that it and Iran might prefer a weak but barely surviving Saddam, if only to undermine and humiliate Jordan in its efforts to remove Saddam. So this is the contriving plan that was drawn up in 1996. So then, what it states, since Iraq's future could affect the strategic balance in the Middle East profoundly, it would be understandable that Israel has an interest in supporting the Hashemites in their efforts to redefine Iraq, including such measures as visiting Jordan as the first official state visit, even before a visit to the United States, of the new Netanyahu government, supporting King Hussein by providing him with some tangible security measures to protect his regime against Syrian subversion, encouraging through influence in the US business community investment in Jordan to structurally shift Jordan's economy away from dependence on Iraq, and diverting Syria's attention by using Lebanese opposition elements to destabilize Syrian control of Lebanon. More important, it is understandable that Israel has an interest supporting diplomatically, militarily, and operationally Turkey's and Jordan's actions against Syria, such as securing tribal alliances with Arab tribes that cross into Syrian territory and are hostile to the Syrian ruling elite. Some of what we see with the Druze and others, these are tribal alliances which the Israelis carry out. So some of what they mentioned is Israel's new strategy based on a shared philosophy of peace through strength reflects continuity with Western values by stressing that Israel is self-reliant, does not need US troops in any capacity to defend it, including on the Golan Heights, and can manage its own affairs. And that is what the Jolani agreement has fallen into. So I will reiterate, this is a clean break. This is the report, a clean break. And this report was released in 1996. And you can find the report online. All of you should read this and do not be a part of these dimwit Twitter ex-youth that post on Twitter. Take the information on Twitter. Take some time and read some books. Take time and read books. You will be much more well informed of what is happening.